let Natalie know, and these will be sent to you after, together with the slides. My name is Julie Cummings-Dubrow. I am a voluntary member of the ICF Bureau France here in Paris. And today I will be assisted by my colleague, Nathalie Thumier, PCC Leadership Coach, who is there for any technical issues you may have and to send you any links that we discuss. And Moira Soul, PCC, who is a senior Erickson trainer and mentor coach here in France and across the globe. As an Erickson certified coach myself, I had the great pleasure of being trained by Moira during some of my modules, and I'm so delighted that she is with us today. She will be taking care of your questions during the question and answer after the presentation. The International Coaching Federation is the world's largest organization of professionally trained coaches and a leading global organization, dedicated to advancing the coaching profession by setting high standards, providing independent certification, and building a worldwide network of trained coaching professionals. This is also a very special day for Erickson, as they celebrate their 40th anniversary, coinciding with the 25th anniversary of ICF Global. What an achievement, and what a wonderful partnership at this very special time. Can I ask that we turn off all our distractions, make sure your phones are silenced, to allow yourselves, especially in these challenging times, to be fully mindful, focused, and engaged. The amazing speaker that we have with us today, Marilyn Atkinson. So allow me to tell you a little bit about her. Marilyn is the founder of Erickson Coaching International and the originator of the solution-focused and outcome-oriented coaching mode. She has actively contributed to the emergence and expansion of solution-focused ecology and coaching worldwide. She was a dedicated follower of Milton Erickson for many years and gave his name to Erickson Coaching International. She also had the privilege to work directly with Fritz Perl, and over a 4-year period completed her Gestalt training with the Primal Institute. For the past 10 years, she has been developing highly effective specialist programs for the ICF ACTP certification in the art and science of coaching. And with her team, has been training coaches in over 85 countries with a present alumni of 45,000 coaches. She is a registered organizational psychologist, an NLP master trainer, and a specialist in Ericksonian communication. Marylin has written and co-authored 9 books, including the Art and Science of Coaching trilogy, which includes Inner Dynamics of Coaching, Step-by-Step Coaching, and The Flow of Coaching. So once again, welcome to all of you. And without further ado, it is my immense pleasure to welcome our guest presenter today, Marilyn Atkinson. Over to you, Marilyn. I'm just getting Marilyn. Where is she on the list?
Marilyn is muted.
Okay. So stop sharing my screen. Okay, got you. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Marilyn is muted. Let me just correct that. Just fine.
Yes.
Oh, great. Now,
there you go. Sorry, Marilyn.
Me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. This is Marilyn Atkinson. I'm sitting it's actually morning here in British Columbia, Canada. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as they say. I'm in my home. And to introduce myself, would like to let you know that mindfulness is my passion. I'm a coach for many, many years, and I'm a mindfulness coach. I focus not only on the experience of getting results and fulfilling our aims and finding our path along the road, but also building our presence, building our being, building our connectivity one to the other as we coach. So a mindfulness coach in my experience, is the heart of all coaching. And I would like you today to consider really taking on this whole structure of learning to be a mindfulness coach. Now, on one hand, mindfulness coaching is easy. Yes, naturally it is. Because mindfulness truly is the heart of coaching. As you learn to coach, you are becoming more mindful naturally. It's also a practice, a very deep practice, so that as you work daily, you can scale not only your coaching competencies, you can scale your mindfulness competencies as well. And you can discover how to deepen and widen and genuinely build these competencies from the inside out. So I'd like to invite you to an hour of exploring this. Mostly what we're going to do is overview. I'll take you into some very simple practices, especially relevant for these challenging times we're in. And I'll take you into some ways to just bring mindfulness into your own coaching experience. That's where we need it the most. So as you're with somebody, you're expanding both your own mindfulness and through mirror neurons, the whole experience of mindfulness that they are having with you as well. So this is our aim. It's a simple aim today. And to really get best value here, I invite you to think of your aim. What is it that you want most out of the next hour? What do you want to take away that you can actually build for yourself? Now, you can build by using a journal. You can build by asking open-ended questions, both to yourself and to me. You can build by connecting inward as I talk and noticing your own experience of what I'm saying. You can build by then practicing with the people around you, wherever you are, even through today, because I will give you some very simple, direct, easy practices. Okay, so if you're looking for really, I'm showing you the winding of it, unwound, undirected, convoluted, experiential, but at the same time intellectual work, you probably won't get it here. Instead, we're going to work with our inner stretch. Stretches are simple. Stretches allow us to, in the moment, notice the stretch. And I'll give you a maxim for this. The path and the peak are the same. If you were climbing a mountain of mindfulness, and at the top was enlightenment, at the top was boundless awareness, the path is simply being in that right now. And so I'd like to take you to an exploration of what this means, because I'll go into the history of mindfulness for a moment. The word mindfulness is a translation of the Pali word sati. It means clear awareness. And clear awareness is something that is something we really find by paying attention. Now, you've probably noticed, if you were to pause right now and allow yourself simply to listen, Just listen to the sounds around you. Notice your ability to hear naturally widens. As we pay attention, the mind naturally widens. And through widening the mind, we can begin to explore many realms of our own experience. However, the mind is like a boat on a river. The river carries it. And so we may widen, but the focus shifts. So as we widen, we also need to be able to focus. We need to steer our ship. Focus and expansion are both aspects of mindfulness. And they're also key aspects of coaching. Now, our client is owned by various thoughts. Often they come into a coaching session thinking about problems, thinking about self-judgments, or wondering about different kinds of futures. They're thinking about worries. They're focused on one thing versus another. And as we start our session, we're noticing, of course, their thoughts and patterns, and we're observing. Now, we're also, as mindfulness coaches, assisting them to observe, not by pointing them out, but by allowing something to emerge out of them that's much stronger, more coherent, and more whole. I've written down here that the problem is not our thoughts themselves, but the state of thinking without knowing that we are thinking. And that is a big core reason why mindfulness is so important in coaching. Because coaching truly is about stepping back from all those thought systems and that are owning our attention and actually observing them, seeing them as something we could have or maybe shift, something we can begin to explore more deeply, something that might be a stepping stone to something more integrative. We are, in fact, observing the nature of consciousness itself. We're observing the possibilities that we have to be more human. Now, this is an interesting practice because when we observe, we're observing in different areas. So I'd like to, for a moment, just put some of these areas up on my whiteboard here. And I'd like to just show you what I call the 4 quadrants of awareness. Now, way back with the Buddha focused on change. And one of our Erickson principles is that change is inevitable. So the Buddha pointed out, why do people suffer? Well, first of all, our circumstances change constantly. And we have certainly experienced that in the last few months, haven't we? Our circumstances are constantly changing. So we can't count on. Can it be seen, or is it backwards here for them? It's a little bit. So the writing is backwards, is that correct? I don't know how to write frontwards. Our circumstances
No,
change.
don't worry. We can see clearly your writing.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Our circumstances change. And with that, our emotions often change. We're constantly finding ourselves in situations that stretch us, that pull us, that demand from us. And with those events, we discover we need to build new levels and kinds of motivation. So our emotions are about motivation, aren't they? Our emotions change and they challenge us. Our emotions are something that require our attention because they come from a deep historical aspect of being human. Our old limbic brain that is still a moment by moment responder. Our old limbic brain was designed for handling emergencies, for fight, flight, or freeze, for developing a response that would save our life. And so when we're in the middle of something and we get a surprise, sometimes old negatives come up, challenges where we take something out of the past and bring it present. Now, this is common. This is the way the brain works when we're on emergency thinking. And some of this last month has brought that up, has it not? We've been in the middle of challenges. And these are wonderful, actually, because as we find, wow, this is challenging my motivation to take care of my body, perhaps. Challenging my motivation to take care of the relationships around me well. Challenging my motivation to find my creativity without external incentives. Challenging my motivation to create this moment here and now to be meaningful. So this is what people have been facing. And as they face this, their emotions change. And what do we do about that as coaches? First of all, we need to know how to coach in all of these areas. What else changes? The Buddha noticed that our minding capacity changes consistently and constantly. Now, what does that mean? We can either think down into a tunnel, or we can think from expanded awareness up into overview. And as we ask coaching questions, we watch our clients move from tunneled thinking into a much wider awareness of value and vision. Isn't that what coaching, when it's meaningful, really allows? So our minding capacity changes constantly. So what does mindfulness allow? It allows us to actually shift the scope of attention, expand the scope of attention, and build a widened structure in which awareness can be home. And that structure in any conversation allows a lot to happen that the client never assumed was possible. Because as we ask open questions, as we become curious with them, as we genuinely become mindful with them, they start to find that inner purpose. They start to discover how they can just be in their own inner dance. Now, I use that word dance, which is one of the favorite words I've noticed for us as ICF coaches. We say, you know, we're dancing with our client. Well, that's true on one level. But what we're doing is dancing with the client's inner opening. We're assisting both ourselves and them to open. Now, we do that by using a variety of wonderful tools. One of them, of course, is our vision. And as mindfulness coaches, vision is very, very important. We assist our client to see much more in the moment by asking questions that take them like a light beam into vision that they haven't actually been examining until they become curious with our question and they take a look for what that is and they see the wider idea that they can move towards. So expanding our minding capacity allows us to build different ways of perceiving things, what we call perceptual positions. Now, many of you may know about that. Often people get stuck in one position only. They're only seeing themselves as they have been in the past with a particular problem. And they feel that problem from the inside out, as if they're right there in that old moment. You've done that before. All you have to do is remember an old moment of failure. And it's like, oh, down you go into it. It's very easy to bring that into your life. So if you were to just leave it behind and look from present tense at all the ways that you have learned from that experience, all the ways that you've grown by having that experience. What did you learn from having that? And immediately we step outside of that old association, and now we look as if we could at that past experience as a learner. Now we look at that past experience as someone who's taking that learning into the future, building further and further awareness systems. And so what we expand with our ability to open our relaxed awareness is this ability to perceive a development. We've perceived the steps that we're taking and will take that grow and develop our life. Now, as I'm talking, just take a moment and think of how this is of value to you. What areas are you already very confident in? What areas do you build? See, the Buddha was talking about suffering. He was talking about people get stuck in these areas. He was talking about how each one of these areas are physical areas, are emotional areas, are intentional thinking areas, are relevant to create something even more important. And that is who we are aware of being at any moment. So he said, our sense of self changes constantly. And Now, have you noticed that, everyone? That as you look at your life through time, it's not only the circumstances that change. Who you are in the world is a very different set of capabilities, capacities, and awarenesses. So notice there's a journey of becoming here. Who are you becoming? Who do you want to become as a coach? Just suppose you could do mindfulness practice that really worked, even every time you coached. And each coach session was a stepping stone for you to build your awareness and deepen it. And just suppose you were practicing on a daily basis, keeping a journal about all that, and you were noticing the steps of emergence that allowed you to be a better coach and more alive in your own life. What would you be experiencing as you wrote down in your journal every day about that? Would it be an experience of value, an experience of, yes, I can? Would it be an experience of deep joy with the process of being alive? Because that's what mindfulness gives us. That's what mindfulness truly is all about. So as the Buddha talked about suffering, he was at the very same time eliciting what coaching with mindfulness actually does. Because are we not, even as our circumstances change, coaching people to build wider perception of their own possibilities? Are we not, coaches? Is that some of what you are doing? When people start a session, often the vision is very narrow. With our mirror neurons as coaches, do we not sometimes join them for a moment, step in and step out? I call that IU position. To have compassion for someone, we take a moment and just become them for a moment and out again. We allow ourselves to notice what it's like from the inside out for them at that moment. And then as we allow expansion, and we don't need to say a word about it, as we become mindful, as we become more aware, what happens for them? Their mirror neurons dance with us. That's that dance. Their mirror neurons are in the flow of their own widening, their own expansion, their own developing self-trust. And as we listen well, and they speak that, isn't it true that something begins to shift in this area? And in fact, those mirror neurons allow us both to be in the same space at the same time. So as you expand your awareness, it's a natural thing for all of us to begin to be in that rhythm, in that flow, in that music called mindfulness. Now, what are your thoughts about this, everybody? I've been talking for a little while. And I'm saying that we can assist people to expand their perception and really expand it a lot. Perception shifts with coaching. You know what's that's like? You finish a coaching session and the whole world looks different, doesn't it? Have you noticed? You finish a coaching session and the person says, wow, I feel quite differently now. And they look out at a different world. We widen our perception and things start to shine. Things start to develop that aura of viability, workability, and loving kindness. It creeps into even the objects in our life. We see them with new eyes. We realize those eyes. So perception shifts as we coach. And also presence shifts. Now, our ability to be present with negatives is one of the key things. We're building that capacity in our life. So often people need to envision themselves with those new capacities. Envision themselves handling situations differently in a way that for them would be congruent and truthful. They need to envision themselves able to work with their own inner states. Now, that means handling stress. And handling stress is often not the easiest thing in the world. Stress is one of those old aspects of being human that we have no ease with, because it often happens in a moment. Something occurs that takes us out of our thinking brain and into the heart pumping, the eyes dilating, the mouth becoming dry, the adrenal glands kicking in and pouring out cortisol and noradrenaline. All sorts of shifts happen in the body. And you probably had clients start to talk about a situation that for them is difficult. And being at home right now is difficult for people. We're at home with people that we've had distanced from often. And suddenly we are sharing life in a new way. So when they start to talk about their emotional difficulty, you may hear stoicism, you may hear anger, you may hear different kinds of disappointment. As you listen, assist them to get back from the old system, back into their wider awareness. Now, how can you do that? This is one of the main skill sets we build as coaches for handling stress. Now, the easiest one that many coaches learn is just to assist the client to pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Whew, wow, as you're talking, I noticed my heart started to rev up. Would you, just for a moment, let's take a nice deep breath together and just get here. Just pause. And as you pause in the moment with the person, just model that deep breath. Now that's mentoring, obviously. Especially at the beginning of a session, however, it allows the client to get there. Just take a moment and take another deep breath. Let's even bigger. Let's just be here. And just for a moment, allow the old thoughts to pass away. Be present. And another one, even deeper. Okay, so now allow yourself to feel the body. Are you ready to start your session? And I've done this a variety of times when people have come into a session in stress, full of those old emotions. And as they take a moment just to breathe, they're bringing air, oxygen back into the cerebral cortex. They're allowing the limbic brain to calm down. They're allowing the body to regroup and to become present once again to the possibilities of their life. So 3 deep breaths is a very simple way to just invite people into the moment. Invite people when they're stressed to move into the pause and just get present again. So I hope you did that with me. If not, just as if right now it was a coaching moment and I was coaching you, just be playful here. If you were coming into a coaching session with me and some of the stressors of life were on your shoulder and you were burdened at that moment and in fact full of it, what would it be like for you? In fact, get into a little bit of a state for a moment. And I say to you, hey, just to get here, just so we can really be present, take a nice deep breath, would you? I'll do it with you. Let's do it together. Right down to your toes. Just releasing all of that stuff. And how about another one? Just for good measure. Let's do it again. And again, feel that release. Feel that letting go inside. And finally, a third one. Why not? Just to totally clear the system. Here we go. Now feel how that shifts things. It shifts things a lot, doesn't it? Now, this is very, very relevant to people because often people hold stress in their body for quite a while. They hold stress-related ideas. We call these anxiety. We call these frustration. We call these many labels. But in time of stress, we need to learn how to release. In many ways, human beings have had difficulty with this. Animals, no problem. If a squirrel, I live in a place with lots of trees around. If I see 2 squirrels having a go-to, and they do in the springtime, I see one go away and up the tree and he's by himself again and he shakes it out. He shakes off his body, he shakes his tail, and he goes about his business again. It takes 30 seconds. 30 seconds, everybody, is what the emotional brain can do a release in. 30 seconds is not very long. That's what the 3 deep breaths do for us. Now, mammals do that easily because they don't live in words. Human beings tend to live in internal dialogue. Makes it a lot harder. And the internal dialogue goes by at 16,000 words an hour. Whew, that's a lot. And it repeats and repeats and repeats. And it tends to grab us and carry us off like victims. Now, our internal dialogue is what mindfulness is all about. Because internal dialogue creates our emotions. And those emotions then have big repercussions in the body. Damages the brain, the hippocampus, learning and memory diminishes. It actually destroys memory systems. It creates difficulty to focus, learning problems, anxiety, and mood disorders. All of these things happen when people just keep building these old states. Now, for us as coaches, we don't deal with the historical ever, but we do bring people present to their whole ability to open mind and heart, to connect once again to positive learning systems. And often an easy way to do that is for you to do it yourself. Now, I use something called the Erickson 5 principles, and I'd like to introduce that to you because these were around long before coaching, but they're principles that tie to the way we can get present with our client, the way we can see them through time and effectively build an awareness of who they really are. We build an experience in the spot of their potential, their purpose, and their deep wholeness. Now, this is all through building perception. And we do this by shifting our own level of presence. Presence starts when we notice that we're okay and that they're okay. Now, our brain works perfectly as we, in the coaching session, become aware of our own ability to be fully present with someone and their difficulties, and be mindful of that holding of this space. We're holding timelessness for them, the timeless moment of their inner awareness. People have all the resources they need. We know this by watching children. Every child has an enormous capacity for love, and we're always in touch with that inner child. Every one of us has those resources. And as coaches, when we assist them to come back inside to the place where they find self-trust, they discover that all this history and all this difficulty and even these old failures have a positive intention. And we can step into the now and really ask, what am I learning here? What is the opportunity here in this stressful moment that I can build from and grow from and live further from in ways that will advance life itself through me? So as we are in a coaching session, it's like being in a magic moment, a possibility. And there's no better time to coach mindfully than right now in the crisis that we're in. And as we see our client, we can see that they are not only experiencing difficulty, they're actually designing their next steps of development. So we're designing with them how they will develop their life further. This is a special moment, everyone. This opportunity only comes once in a lifetime. This opportunity to face shifts and changes that are important to us. And people handle stress much better than we think as we work with them. And I really invite you to work with their life development at this point. The experience of being inside translates into the experience of really being inside in the place where we can find our self-trust, where we can find those necessary resources, where we can find our inner beauty. So the Erickson principles are very valuable. They assist me to work with people from a place I call overview coach position. And what does that mean? When we're in coach position, something unusual happens. We're looking at two kinds of coaching at the very same time. Now, if this is you, looking at all these different areas, looking at the expansion of perception, looking at the expansion of presence, looking at how people develop in the moment, what might you begin to want to build? See, if we expand this moment into all time, this timeless moment is pregnant with the future. It holds this person and their developing life like a seed in the spring ground. And it holds the tree that comes from the acorn. Who we are is that tree. As you coach and you hold that expanded space, noticing that they are in development, that even as we are present for that, we can experience it right now. Something amazing happens. They find their ideas of that, don't they? They suddenly get great ideas. Hey, I got an idea. I know how this can happen or what steps I can take. I know how to just deepen relationships. And they do. So we are holders of what we call overview perception. And I sometimes call this coach position. We're holding a picture of who that person is becoming. And as from the inside, their sense of self changes. From the outside, we are observing how that change is natural and whole, autonomous, how it's truth finding itself in their life, how this emergence will continue. And as we see that, something seems to happen. People see it for themselves. These mirror neurons are very interesting. Or maybe they were finding it anyway and we just got to hitchhike. It's all in the moment of mindful awareness. Now, I said I would give you some tools, and we're needing to move quickly. I want to give you another very simple tool. And guess what it is? It is smiling. Smiling, come on, Marilyn, what are you talking about? Well, coaches, think about it. Our smile not only connects to them, It connects right into our cellular structure. Take a moment for a moment. And as if you were looking at someone you deeply love, and it's a wonderful moment of sharing, just create a big smile and open your eyes as you do it. And take a breath. Feel that smile. And what you're feeling is what we call oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is the chemical of love. It's the inner experience of connection. Oxytocin brings us present into our body's perception. Do another one. Experience the eyes open, the smile open. And then as your smile softens, just keep a little smile there. And notice how you can connect to your heart. That the heart is, in fact, a vehicle of connection. And it is. Allow your heart just to get warm. You're finding the sourceful center of mindfulness. Mindfulness is about connecting heart and intention. As we build mindfulness, and we build it through not just our perception, but our presence and our willingness to see others develop, and we build it up into connecting heart and mind. Our sense of self becomes something that we have control over with these simple methods. Deep breath to disconnect old emotions. Leave behind the internal dialogue. As we take a smiling moment, guess what? No internal dialogue there. None of those old rules. We're actually creating the path to be like the peak. We need to practice. And practicing the simplest forms of mindfulness are better than anything else as we live together and work together and coach together. So in the coaching moment, you can shift over to their position for a moment. Feel what they're feeling. Take those deep breaths. Smile. Smile to them. Open the eyes and smile. And smile to yourself. Now, in doing this, we're finding something very interesting. We're connecting to what I call the Gray Hue, H-U. Now, what is Hue? Hue stands for humanity. It's the first two letters in humanity. Hue is my phrase for human. We're connecting to our deeper human so that it's not just our sense of self that's changing. Our sense of awareness is consistent. We're finding Hue. It's an ancient letter, by the way. Let's just work with this board for a moment. H was one of the first symbols for being human. Now, in different cultures, we have different versions of this. For example, Russian Chelabinks, Chelabinks, I believe it's Chelabik. And in China, the symbol looks like this, but they're all vertical. They all have a high reach and a low reach. So to be human, what does it mean? It means we stand in 2 feet on the ground, 2 feet right here, right now. We're reaching out to each other, connecting. And at the very same time, we're reaching into our future and our creativity and our purpose. And we're reaching up into our potential. We're widening that potential. And that's a powerful way that we begin to experience our inner strength. Now, hue has been used in all sorts of languages. In China, they have the same word, humor, as we do in English. We find it in multiple languages. Humble, humility, it all comes from the same word. And hue actually is the ancient word for God. So human means God-man. It means the sense of self that can develop and open and grow and become more of what is truly our aim and our potential. Hue is what we're stepping into as we work with the ancient traditions of mindfulness. Now, I say that that's what coaching is all about. Coaching is about how we expand. Coaching is about how we grow. And the body supports this. I'm going to give you one more small tool. You may not do this in a coaching session, except in your mind's eye, if you ever get stuck. But I use it a lot. Put your hands in front for a minute. Just take a look at your hands. And notice you're looking at them with what we call focal vision. Now, the focal vision is often the focusing part of the eye. And when we're mindful, we need to be able to focus. We need to develop our focus. But mindfulness always contains two. So we also need to expand. Now, the whites of the eye, I don't know if you know this, but we see other things with the whites of our eyes. Focus allows us to see detail. Focal vision. Peripheral vision allows us to see shifting movement and development. As we see with the whites of our eyes, we are like Aikido practitioners. We're noticing things that shift and shape. And we're also connecting to our unconscious mind. So just take a moment. Look at your hands for a moment, wherever you are. Become mindful of the detail. Notice what focal vision is like. Focal vision is very useful for finding questions and following a plan. Focal vision is very useful for honing in on something. But now, just expand that. Open the door, widen it, and move your fingers a little bit as you do so. Find the place where you can't even see your hands anymore. You can just see the shadow. You can see the shadow of your hands. And I can still see the shadow of my hands. I've got them wide now. But as I look ahead at you, the shadow of my hands is available. I'm looking from peripheral. Now, what does peripheral give us? It connects us deeply to our inner self. And if you open and smile, give yourself a moment of stretch and smile. Give yourself a moment of inner tranquility, because the unconscious mind is stable in any storm. Give yourself a moment of being in that change, because change is inevitable. But this gives you a much bigger boat. Give yourself a moment of enjoying the fact that you can be present now. Give yourself a moment of lighting that spark inside that connects you to your heart, to your smile, to your inner sense of peace, to the deeper breath, to the wider perception, to the inner awareness that we all share as as humans. And this is our heritage as humans. We have a mindful potential in any moment just to be present. So as you start on that phone call from your home, speaking to someone who may be in difficulty right now. We at Erickson, by the way, are doing coaching sessions with frontline workers. We're involving our coaches, and you're welcome to get involved in coaching people who are having difficulty. This is an opportunity for us coaches. This is a big opportunity to light the spark of compassion, to allow the awareness of light and love to grow, to be in that inner presence of genuine choice and change. So as you're on the telephone or in your Skype call, and as you begin, you just take a moment and yourself take a nice deep breath of presence and open that wider awareness for a moment, that big stretch, that inner trust, that sense of, yes, I am here now. Just sense the I am that's bigger than your personal life. Sense the boundless in you, wider than your individual identity. Sense the expansion that you are experiencing. And as you start into the call, bring that humor, bring that humanity, bring that genuine joy that comes from the inside out. And smile. Let that light come into your eyes, the light that comes from the whole universe through us, that pervades everything that we are. Feel your heart open and enjoy. Enjoy the mindfulness. So I would like to invite different kinds of thoughts at this point. Take a moment and write your thoughts, your questions. I didn't address very much that's practical here, but I hope you like the tools.
So as people are maybe, finding the questions they want to ask you, I have some questions already for you, Marylin.
Okay.
So I have Cecile who wrote, what is the link between presence and building the vision of themselves? I guess for coaching, yeah?
Yay. Well, in coaching, it's very useful to understand perceptual positions. Now, this is something we work a lot with at Erickson. What are perceptual positions? Well, first of all, we need to stand fully in our body to be present, don't we? Presence means from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet, we're sensing and we're aware of that sensing out. Now, notice that presence doesn't have any edges. To be present here means that we're connected to awareness, and awareness is awareness of awareness. Awareness goes way out. And it's very easy to both be present and to connect to vision. Now, how do we do that? We do it with open questions. I personally spend a lot of my verbal time asking questions with curiosity inward. I do it at night before I go to bed. So that's my own personal practice, asking questions about areas of curiosity. What might be, or just suppose I could, what might be the way? So I go to sleep with that and then wake up the next morning with whatever I get. because awareness is much bigger and wider. Awareness is boundless. Awareness takes us into the timeless. So presence starts by being here now. And being is a very sacred word. To be is not just a do with our thoughts. To be is to simply stand in our awareness.
I have another question. Thank you for that, Marylin. I have another question from Natalie. And she wrote, I'm not very familiar with Erickson, and I easily agree with the 5 principles. Why those specific 5, and how were they developed, and if there is any research around them?
Well, they came directly from Milton Erickson's mouth.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're simple. But the research is very powerful, because for me, I'm always working with these 4 quadrants of awareness. And the 4 quadrants of awareness are basically physical, relational, creative, and meaningful. And when we look at what Milton is speaking about, it's very simple. He's basically saying that who we are is okay. Now, okay is a funny word. That's his word. But it's saying, go ahead and live a meaningful life. You're fine just the way you are. You don't have to fix anything. Don't have to fix the past. The past is gone. You don't have to figure out the future. Allow yourself to vision it. You are okay. And that our minding capacity can change. We have those resources available. We always have had them. They're there. They're available. Just like for the child, it's such a wonderful thing to see how able they are to expand in any moment. And so can we. That capacity never goes away. So we have those resources. And in fact, we do the best we can with what we've got, do we not? People learn, they do adapt. They do begin to create what they need to create. Our emotions are not some kind of holding pattern. They are a growing motivational pattern. And we can take charge of that. Now, that's the area where we have some work to do, most people, because we tend to believe our thoughts. Mindfulness practice is about stepping outside and noticing that those are just thoughts. And who we are is bigger than those thoughts. Who we are is a much wider space than the thoughts that bubble up. The thoughts are just thoughts. And we can notice them go by. Oh, there's a thought. We don't have to believe them. They're just thoughts. And even emotions, it comes up, maybe anger. We don't have to believe that. That's that old system grabbing, holding. And we can take a deep breath, be present again. So people have resources. They do the best they can with what they've got. And guess what? Change is inevitable. We've certainly learned that this month, haven't we? Change is inevitable. And very good to remember it, because if you yourself have found yourself in some kind of a little box, you can breathe your way out of it. And you can begin to notice that you can steer that boat of change. So those are the Erickson principles as I understand them. And I understand them for myself. He said them for himself. And I've taken them into my life. I started to develop Erickson close to 43 or 4 years ago. I was a student. I love Milton Erickson's work. And I began to use them to create my own experience of what's meaningful. And from that, my own coaching work developed.
Wow, okay, thank you very much, Marylin. I have another one now, not about the 5 Ericksonian principles anymore. This one is from Christine. And she's asking, what kind of link can we make between mindfulness and energy?
Ooh, that's a lovely one.
Yeah.
Well, you're going into the quantum realm here. You know,
It is. Huh?
Space, time, matter, energy. It's all on the 4 quadrants again.
Yeah.
But energy, isn't that what all of this is about? To be human is to experience this amazing energetic connection to life. And energy is something we need to cherish and take care of. There's physical energy, and we need to build it. And I spend time each day, I don't know about you, but I need to physicalize. I need to move my body. I need to dance in the kitchen with my husband or climb the hill. We've got a nice hill behind us. And fortunately, they let us out and we go climbing up our mountain. But I need to physicalize, and I'm sure you do as well, because when we physicalize, we get energy. And I also need to move out of negative emotions. I need to have a system to do that. That's what breathing is all about. That's what mindfulness practice is all about. It's about observing that those emotions are not us. And as we do that, we find our energy again. Everybody wakes up in the morning with a certain amount, quite a lot actually. But often if those old ideas keep churning around, that internal dialogue, that energy's gone by noon. You need to take charge. Mindfulness practice, even 10 minutes a day, and following a mindfulness practice is important. At Erickson, we work with mindfulness. It's a big part of coaching. As you do mindfulness practice, then you build back your focus, your ability to focus, and your capacity to expand into the moment and just be present. And how do we build energy in our creativity? Well, we need that. That's where coaching is all about, where we as coaches make such a difference to people. We assist them to light the spark of energy, don't we? We assist them to build their own awareness of strength, inner strength, their own power to create results, their own vision that they can trust, their own ability to say yes to themselves, and to move from negative to positive. Solution-focused coaching is all about leaving behind anything that's negative and energizing that which can move us towards the future and to a positive future, something we see. Vision is always positive because we can only create positive images in the mind. It's the way the mind works. We can talk negative, but vision is naturally positive and it creates positive energy. So this creates a meaningful life. It creates a happy life as well. We need to spark moments of joy. We need to spark physicalizing, achieving things every day. We need to spark that creative spot inside where we're curious about something and can possibly grab hold and have it emerge in our life and make it stronger. And we need to spark the place where we say, my life is deeply meaningful. My life is about joy.
There's also, oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Energy, that's what it's all about.
You said something around this also, that we human live in our internal dialogue, and then I don't know, maybe wouldn't it be like when we become more aware of this internal dialogue, and when we find different type of way to perceive it, then we raise up our energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Mm.
See, when we know that those thoughts are not us, it's a freedom that we build. We're walking out of the jail. The Iroquois Indians said, to be human is to live inside a bubble. At first, when you're a little child, before the age of 2, that bubble is open. But then it begins to close until it closes us in. And that bubble is the words we live in. This old chief said, we live inside that bubble all our lives. Find a way to break that bubble. Find a way to find your awareness and notice what is beyond the bubble.
That's beautiful. I have another question now. Thank you very much for all these explanations, Marylin. And I have a question from Rupin.
Okay.
And she's asking, can we let go of questions and just be aware with the client?
Absolutely. We can be in the pause. What are the competencies of mindfulness? See, Erickson never went beyond the 5 principles. But if you look deeply, you can notice there's not only coaching competencies, there's mindfulness competency. One of them is just to be in the pause with people, just to be present with people. This is a very important competency. We've got 8 mindfulness competencies that I've been exploring and showing to people. And those competencies you can learn and practice and develop. As you do so, they become who you are. And you are like a new person in your own awareness.
Wow, thank you. Back to the 5 Ericksonian principles. I have this question from Benjamin. How often do you share the 5 principles explicitly with clients?
I don't know. Not very often, actually. I have it from time to time. People, especially when they start exploring Erickson coaching, ask, why Erickson? Why do you call this Erickson coaching? Or why do you call this solution focused? And then I share the 5 principles. Often people have challenges about being okay or having the resources that they have. So it's fun sometimes at the end of a session to say, notice, you've got all the resources that you thought you were searching. They're all there already. They say, oh yeah, I found them. And I say, that's part of this whole field of coaching, that we have these resources, that we truly are okay. And that we can, in fact, begin to trust that even though in the past we did the best we can, we're on a trajectory that is developing itself. This learning is inevitable. Change is inevitable. And people love it. This is at the end of the session when we're chatting or discussing. Wow, those wow moments are well worth sharing.
You talked a lot about the neuron mirrors, and also you said mindfulness is about connecting heart and intention. And well, 5 Ericksonian principles are really about the intention that we bring, right, in a coaching session.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And connecting mind and heart is an ancient way of speaking about that, but it's still relevant now. These old paradigms, the mindfulness paradigms that came from our old spiritual traditions, Christian traditions of prayer, Buddhist traditions of inner practice, different kinds of Sufi and other spiritual, Confucius. I could name a list, but if you look, you'll find at the heart of them are mindfulness practices. Be aware now.
Hey, I have another one from Rupin again, and that's a difference between intention and goal or outcome.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? Or what are the differences, sorry?
Well, we can speak about intention in a lot of ways, can't we?
Yeah.
We can talk about an inner flash of vision that we have and how it becomes an aim, an exploration, a discovery system, and even a purpose, something that enlivens our life. And then we can notice how we take that and say, what is my goal today? How can I take this larger awareness of what I want, what this mountain is that I'm busy climbing, what this step on the journey is, and turn it into a goal? And in solution-focused coaching, I love to work with goals, particularly as they get aligned with our larger purpose and get aligned with who we're becoming. As soon as we notice what's really meaningful in our life, those goals get reshaped so that our motivation is natural and energized. So intention then holds this all together. Intention can hold us in the wider purpose and in the momentary goal all at the same time. Now, I hope that answers your question. I used a lot of words there. Was it useful?
I'm waiting for the chat, but I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. I have another one. You've been presenting a lot at the moment, so maybe a more relaxed one, huh?
Oh, good.
So this one is, let me find it again. Has any of your work been influenced by Eckhart Tolle?
Ooh. Well, I dip into everybody's work, but not particularly. Some of the things that Eckhart Tolle talked about that I felt valuable was his discussion of pain. He did understand a lot about how people get caught by their body tightening, by the way in which they can hunker down into certain inner thoughts, that they turn into a reality, into what I call a part of themselves that takes over. Now, that is something to understand, because when people understand that they've got these different kinds of thought systems that can grab, they then develop the purpose much more deeply to be present now, the purpose to be here in presence, and also at the same time to expand that presence into timelessness. Now, all the spiritual traditions and teachers talk about that. And the word non-dual is sometimes useful. It's saying who we are is not all these thoughts that we have about who we are, this history, this idea of the future, this belief about what it means to have had all these particular experiences that we have had. No, that's not who we are. That's just the actor on the stage. That's just the theory about who you are. But step back beyond all that. Fall into the wider awareness. And you discover something that is whole and complete. Has its own I am. That is totally innocently aware, just now, of everything. So it's not the thoughts you thought, it's this awareness, ever expanding, boundless, always growing, always deeply present, that we can be any moment.
Wow. Thank you very much, Marylin. It was a pleasure to have fun with you, and I will give the mic back to Julie. Okay.
Thank you very much, Maura. Marylin, that was absolutely amazing. And, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd just like to thank the whole team at ICF that have made this possible, and also the team at Erickson. The director of Erickson-France, Eric Hilaro, is with us today. Thank you very much, Eric, for being there. And also Mary Kennedy, who was very, she was very active in getting this off the ground. And it's been a fabulous experience. And thank you so much. I think perhaps if you could have the last word, Mary. I'm sorry, Marylin, I beg your pardon. If Marylin, if you would like to have the last word to close this session.
Oh, well, I want to thank you so much, Julie. And I really appreciate the work that you've been doing to make this happen, even during the crisis. And I want to thank all of you coaches, especially if you're taking this downtime and actually using it to coach people who right now are needing the experience of a really strong listening and loving presence, and just offering your coaching. At Erickson, we've developed a program called Coaches Without Borders. Please take on being a coach without borders. At least some of your week, give your time to those who are on the front lines, or those who are in the care homes or the places where people are having the most difficulty, and just enjoy the strength you have to assist others. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for your deep interest in mindfulness and your willingness to practice this and to explore further, because there's a lot that you can do, be, and have in exploring mindfulness through coaching. I do wish that I know you're going into your evening, as we go through the next 3 weeks, that we all stay in touch with mindfulness. There's an old song I used to sing as a child, and I send it as a blessing. May the long time sun shine upon you, and all love surround you, and the deep light within you guide your way on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Marylin. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Marylin. This was absolutely amazing.